great group joining us today, so we will go ahead and get started. As Michelle mentioned, this is Integrating Art to Build SEL Competencies. You can see the bit.ly for today's presentation here on this slide. And we are first wanting to, introduce ourselves here at the North Carolina Museum of Art. And for those of you who are joining from other places, we're in Raleigh, North Carolina. Our building is currently closed, but our park is open to visitors, and you can always find our resources online at NCMA Learn. So we just want to go over a few kind of bits of webinar housekeeping and make sure that everybody can hear. So if you're having any issues, you can type in the chat or raise your hand. And then once again, the presentation link is here. And also feel free to use the chat to ask questions and connect with other participants. And just a reminder that if you just want to communicate directly with the panelists, you choose that option. But later we'll be doing some interactive strategies, and if you're participating in those strategies, you'll want to make sure that you're writing to all panelists and attendees. So just remember that difference there. So the next little bit of business is that certificates of participation will be provided for today. It'll be counted as 0.1 CEU based on your school district's process for approval. At the end of today's session, we will give you a few different links because we have a large group today for a Google Form exit ticket. And when you follow that link and fill out the Google Form, it will then email you a certificate. And okay, we wanted to get started with a quick poll just to find out a little bit more about you. So what subject and grade levels do you teach? So, and some people are sharing in the chat, but I think, Michelle, can you launch that poll as well so we can see the numbers?
There we go. Okay, I'll give 5 seconds more. It looks like almost everybody has responded. 2, 1, and
all right, so huge representation from the visual arts teachers today. And then as far as grade levels, a few more elementary than than middle and high, but really kind of almost evenly split between the grade levels there. So that is great to see. So thank you for that. And then before we get started with today's webinar, we do just want to mention some ongoing professional development that is available to teachers out there. We have our online course, Art and Math, Exploring Points of Integration, which is still ongoing and open until August 18th. And then some upcoming programs on September 1st at 4 p.m. We will have a webinar that we are working with the National Humanities Center on, looking at resources for teaching about ancient cultures. The next online course will be our visual literacy course, and that will open in October. And we'll be adding more webinars to our schedule for the upcoming school year. And then also quickly mentioning, we're joined by our friends at the Department of Public Instruction today, and they have several webinars upcoming too, and they will talk more about these in a little bit. So we do want to first go ahead and introduce ourselves and them. So I'm Jill Taylor, the Manager of School and Teacher Programs here at the NCMA, and I'm joined by my team member, Kristen Smith. And then we're very excited to have with us today Sayward Grinley, the Dance and Visual Arts Consultant, and Brandon Roeder, Music and Theater Arts Consultant from the Department of Public Instruction. So let's see, we'll go ahead and dive in. So today we first want to make a case for the importance of the arts in developing social emotional learning competencies. And we're going to think about, from our perspective at the North Carolina Museum of Art, we're really taking the time to be more intentional and explicit about the SEL benefits of what we do. So we'll be revisiting some classic strategies, but think about them in terms especially of self-awareness, social awareness, and relationship skills. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kristen, who's going to introduce some more polls.
Great. We just want to get a sense of where everyone is with some of the terms that we'll be talking about within this webinar. So the first is we want to know your familiarity with the CASEL framework. It looks like that whole question. So what is your familiarity with the CASEL framework? Are you super familiar? You can tell us all about it without looking it up. Pretty familiar? You can name the 5 core competencies without looking them up. Kind of familiar or not familiar at all. So go ahead and vote, and we'll see where everyone is in their understanding of the CASEL framework. Okay, so some people not familiar at all, some people a little bit familiar, and we've got some 2%ers that are awesomely aware and they're knowing it all. So I'm glad that you're here. So we're going to ask another question now. To what degree, I think we might be able to know some of these answers that have to come. To what degree has your school implemented social and emotional learning? A high degree, you've had some trainings, there's staff has been responsible for specific protocols have been put in place, or a medium degree, you've gotten a couple, maybe a presentation or an email's been sent, maybe there's been some discussion, but no action plan has really been set into place, or low or really no degree at all where you're still working on understanding. So go ahead and put your vote there. And someone's asking if we could put the bit.ly for the presentation again in the chat.
Will do.
All right, let's go ahead and see the results for that poll. Okay, so about midway, where some people have gotten a little bit of understanding of it, but really no action plans in their schools. And that's what part of what we're going to be talking about today is what you as an educator might be responsible for, and what your school or your district how they might be involved in implementing SEL as well. So let's move to the next slide. This is a great graphic that you'll probably see a lot of if you haven't already. So CASEL it stands for the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. They're an organization that has been working on social emotional learning for over a decade and defined a lot of the different capacities within SEL for that long. And this framework has been adopted by states and districts and schools nationwide, and CASEL's working with them to really make it a priority in helping students to understand themselves and understand others in a way that will allow them to increase their capacity to learn. So the framework that's created by CASEL is really meant to, it's built into these different, you can see these quadrants. And so there are many frameworks that can be used to explore SEL, but CASEL's is an integrated framework promoted meant to promote intrapersonal, interpersonal, and cognitive competencies. And there's those 5 core competencies that you can see listed there in the middle. And many educators and researchers also are exploring how to best assess these competencies. So we'll talk about a few of those, and then DPI Slides will also be sharing some resources that they'll be providing. But we also wanted to share a little bit, since we do have so many visual art teachers in here, we aligned some of the DPI posters that they'll be sharing with educators. They have aligned the CASEL competencies with all of the art forms, as well as all of the other subject areas, to things that are already happening likely in your classroom that align with those different competencies. So within self-awareness, you are likely having students think about how they see themselves, explore their identity, create a portrait, do some art journaling. Self-management, you might already be having them create checklists to complete a long project, or maybe how to manage their own tools within the classroom. Relationship skills, you're building a safe environment within your classroom and modeling ways that students are talking to each other about their work, the way that they feel about their lives, their perspectives in the world. So this is a slide that you can come back to. You'll see the posters that will come back. And so this is a really beautiful way of thinking about things that you're already doing. And a lot of the things that we'll be talking about with SNL, you're going to recognize that I'm already doing this, but now I have a language behind it that I can talk about with my district and with other teachers. So I'm going to now give the screen to Sayward and Brandon, who will give us some background knowledge into DPI's forward-looking thoughts on the arts and SEL from where they're coming from. Take it away.
Thank you, Kristen. So I am, we're happy to be here today. We're so excited to be sharing with you from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. My name again is Sayward Grindley. I'm the Dance and Visual Arts Consultant at DPI. I just started in this position at the end of May, so it's been a learning curve for sure. And I personally was transitioning from teaching in the dance field and dance education in the college setting. Before that, I have taught in the public schools and worked professionally as a dancer, arts administrator, and visual artist. So I really work on combining all of my experiences to think of how to best serve the teachers in North Carolina. I have also taught virtually and remote, like many of you are now navigating, and I've also done online learning from a student perspective. So I also take those experiences in with everything. We're going to share today some more about DPI's position on social emotional learning, specifically related to arts education. And I'm going to turn it over now to my arts education team member, Brandon, to introduce himself to you.
Hi, as Sayward said, I am Brandon Rader. I am actually the K-12 music and theater arts consultant, but Sayward and I really truly work as a team. We have experience in all 4 arts areas, we both have experience in all 4 arts areas. And so we strive to come together and be able to build off of each other's strengths and provide as much support to you all as possible. One of those things that we love to point out is this framework that you see on your slide here. This is the Instructional Design Principles for Remote Teaching and Learning, which was published this past spring, but unfortunately was missed by a multitude of educators who perhaps truly needed this framework. The 7 principles include SEL, modified instructional time, connection with families and students, student engagement aligned to those standards, very important as we are part of the Curriculum and Standards Division. Equity, choice, and flexibility, feedback on student work, and collaboration among students. And we know that the arts really does speak to all of these areas very well. And if you are not yet intimately familiar with this framework, I really highly recommend visiting the link at a later date and reading the entire paper, not just the one-pager, so that you can go back and build your fall courses on the foundation of this framework.
So this is just one section taken from that framework document that addresses how important SEL is, especially right now, given our current situation. We can weave and embed SEL themes into our assignments and lessons and provide students opportunities to reflect and share. Providing space and time for students to share how the current situation is impacting them may also be helpful in helping them deal with what's going on right now. Notice the light bulb quote in red at the bottom of the page. It says, ensuring that all students have opportunities to continue to see their place in our school community is imperative. Addressing SEL is not optional. It is critical to supporting our students and their learning.
Because of DPI's position on this, they actually they signed on to be a state partner with CASEL, which, or as mentioned earlier, is the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. This means that they will actually be rolling out support for implementing the 5 core competencies that you will hear about today in schools all the way across the state. You can learn all about the work that the Integrated Academic and Behavior Systems team at DPI has been doing actually since January for the implementation of the SEL support across the state by clicking in that link in the slide deck.
DPI is in the final editing stages of creating support documents for all content areas related to SEL. Brandon and I, along with a team from A+, have created the 4 arts education support documents. Each document will include examples of SEL related, social emotional learning examples related to that content area, along with standards from that subject that align with each of those CASEL competencies. It'll also give you general and specific lesson ideas for incorporating each CASEL strand and teaching practices to consider for each of those as well. All of these examples are to be used as consideration, guidance, or jumping off points, not as scripted curriculum. These documents will be available to you soon and will be posted to our website once they are complete, but they should be a great resource and tool for you to start thinking of ways that you're already implementing these into your classes.
In addition to those documents that we were asked to produce, we decided to further support our arts areas and really spotlight how easily the arts support social and emotional learning by drafting some SEL posters for teachers to use either as a reference or even to print out and post in their classroom so any visitors who might come by can see how you're addressing SEL in your classroom. We partnered with the A+ schools of North Carolina, both in the documents that Sayward was just speaking about and in these documents, to really get a feel for how teachers can easily, purposefully connect what they are doing to the 5 core competencies. We really aim to show you that it is a small step to be purposefully introducing SEL into the classroom and not just another fad or trend and not a huge heavy lift either.
The arts education team at DPI is also working on several additional SEL webinars for you that will dive deeper into the specific strands of the CASEL competencies, specifically through arts-related content areas. Our next one coming up is Creating Self-Regulated Learners on July 29th. And you can actually go ahead and register for that by clicking on that link if you're interested. A description is teach students how to track their progress at home in the classroom and how to reflect on their own progress. In this session, Matthew Holt, one of orchestra directors at the Durham School of the Arts, will teach what self-regulated learners look like, what the benefits are in and outside of the classroom, and how to increase individual transfer of learning, and how this is so critical to the COVID-19 school year. We also have in the works some collaborations with the North Carolina Symphony for sensory-friendly concerts and instruction. That will come later in the winter and spring time period. And we're working on relationship skills with Carolina Ballet, as well as responsible decision-making and creating a community in the classroom, both online and in person, working with several North Carolina arts educators that are doing just that in their classroom right now. And they really want to help give you some ideas of what's working for them. You can sign up for these on our listserv and or website actually, but you'll get those through our listserv. We'll talk about that in just a moment of how you can get these emails.
So NCDPI is providing those support documents to help with the implementation, but local school units will be able to choose whatever SEL program best suits their student population. So if your school is already using a character ed or SEL-based program, you are certainly welcome to continue using that program. As there are currently no directives for any specific SEL program, as there's currently no funding provided for this initiative. This SEL movement is about supporting students and teachers. So at this time, there is no plan to tie the NECES teacher evaluation instrument to teacher execution of SEL at this time. And really, if you do have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us.
And then here are some links. When you get, if you are in the bit.ly for this slide deck right now, you can click on each of these. They're clickable links, and you'll see our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and then our Google site as well. If you sign up for our listserv on our Google site, you'll get those regular newsletters and emails. But following us on Facebook or checking our website regularly, you'll get all of those information about any upcoming webinars and registration links for those. Our website has many different sections that you may find helpful to you, including a webinar archive of our previous webinars, a remote teaching resource page. We would love for you to reach out to us if you have any further questions regarding DPI, SEL, arts education, or just how we can help you in your individual classes. If you'd like to be a part of collaborating in a presentation or session in the future, or have expertise or knowledge that you think would help other arts educators, then also feel free to reach out to us as well. We'd love to hear from you. We always like hearing from other arts teachers or just educators in general in North Carolina. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Sayward and Brandon. And Brandon actually has to run to another SEL webinar right now, but Sayward will be staying with us as we kind of move into some of the strategies we want to share with you today. So let me just, so we do want to give a quick word about today's strategies. They can be used across subjects, grade levels, and skill sets. And we've also put some thought today into strategies that will appeal to different age groups. So we'll start with one that I think you could really use with younger students, and then there are others that you may need to work out to older students. We also have thought about ways that you can do these activities in digital formats. So we'll be trying out some tools with you today, and some of them are experiments for us as well, so just kind of bear with us. We do want to remind you that these can be used with works of art, but also other types of text, thinking about videos, articles, poetry, dance, theater, and these are all inquiry-based and student-centered. So the first competency we're going to look at today is self-awareness. So thinking about teachable skills such as identifying emotions, accurate self-perception, recognizing strengths, self-confidence, and self-efficacy. And what we're going to do first is focus on a simple vocabulary building exercise. And the tool that we're going to use today is Answer Garden. And what I've done so that we can look at the work of art and use the tool is created a web page that allows us to do that. So we are going to take some time to look at this image, which is a still from Bill Viola's Quintet of Remembrance video. And I think Michelle has put the link in the chat. And then I'm going to move out of presentation mode so I can put up the same page that everybody might be looking at. So we have the image here. And then we just want to ask, what emotions can you identify in this work of art? And you can type your answer and submit it in the box. And we'll give you a little bit of time to do that. And then we will start to see the results as they populate. And don't worry if they don't automatically show up. I'm going to be doing some refreshing. Okay. And I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger here so we can start to see. So this is showing us too how frequently maybe a word has gone in. So some have gone in twice, some have gone in once. But we really, we see the words pain, disgust, anguish. We also see some offerings in the chat as well. And so just in consideration for time, we're not gonna do a lot of follow-up questions right now, but your next step with this would be to answer some follow-up questions with your students. So what do you see in this work of art that shows you someone might be feeling disgust? And so then they would have to explain that in more detail. And then also to think about an extension activity for that, be maybe having students think about these emotions that they have named and think about a time in their own lives when they felt that emotion, and then task them with creating a work of art that demonstrates or depicts that emotion in some way. So that was just a quick example here. And so this is, if something you want to play with in the future, this is still live on NCMA Learn. So someone is asking if this is a platform that would allow teachers to edit this for activities. In this case, this is just our own website, but you would be able to use Answer Garden on your own if you want to, and I'll put the link to that in the presentation as well. In this case, we wanted to see it with the work of art, so we created our own page to do that, but there are other ways to do that as well. And
I do love that a teacher wrote that they show this clip with second graders and that it can get really deep.
Yeah. Right, because when we talk about these being appropriate for different age groups, it's not because younger students don't have these feelings, it's just giving them the tools to talk about them and being probably surprised by what they can express about it. So we're gonna pause that one there so we can move on to the next strategy, and I'm gonna go back into present mode. And it really likes that link. All right, so Kristen.
So if you can go back one slide, or no, this is it, right? So now we're just gonna take it a little step further. So before we were defining emotions and thinking about what those emotions feel like in ourselves and maybe making connections to our own lives and experiences. And we're just gonna take it a little bit deeper with another work of art. So this time we're going to be looking at Three Graces, Les Trois Femmes Noires by Micheline Thomas. We're going to be using two strategies that we're going to try and do succinctly: visual thinking strategy and concept connections. And then we're going to use we're just going to use the chat box at the very end, but we're going to use a tool called dot storming, which is similar to Mentimeter, Poll Everywhere. There's a bunch of different things that kind of have different possibilities for getting lots. So we're going to, this one will be a bit of an experiment. So let's go to the next slide. And I want you just for 30 seconds, look at this work of art. And I want you just don't write anything in the chat box. Just think about it, look at it closely, and think about what's going on in this picture. And you're going to be able to share an answer once we give you the link. But for now, what do you think's going on in this picture? So we'll give you a link to dot storming, and you'll land on that, and Jill will go ahead and show us that as it populates. And in dot storming, you are going to create a new card, which is in the upper right corner, which I'm not seeing on your screen for some reason. Do you have to join?
Oh, yeah, let me, oh.
There, a bunch of people are already in, great. So add a card up in the right-hand side and go ahead and write a sentence, a phrase, or something that you think is going on. What are you seeing in the work of art? What do you think's going on in the work of art? That's the very specific question. What do you think is going on in this picture? 3 friends getting ready to go out for the night. The dressing room. Women of strength. Open my own. Great, look at that populate. This is where we were wondering, what's it going to be like when we have 150 people? Confidence. Women interacting with each other out in the town. 3 women prepping for a night of dancing. Empowered women celebrating dancing. 3 friends getting ready to go out. Broken emotions. Friends meeting. Women's empowerment, raising others up. Enjoying life as women, having a great experience. Girlfriends reunion. Broken story. Celebration of success. Something not going as planned. And as those final comments are coming in, you can keep adding some if you'd like, but I'd like you can vote on a comment that you want to explore a little further. So someone might have wrote something, you're like, oh, that's interesting. I'd like to know a little bit more what they were thinking about that. I'd like to see what they're seeing a bit more. So if you could go ahead and vote on those, that way we can get a sense of what you all would like to talk about within this work of art. Okay, let's do a little bit more voting. Great. All right, let's go back to the presentation and look at the work of art. So dot storming was a way, if you've done VTS in your classroom, really what you want to start is something very open-ended, you not being the director of the conversation. This is about students sharing what they see, what they think is going on, and really jumping to that place of interpretation, because that's where they love to go first. But then you're going to want to take it a next step further. And when you do this with us in person, we usually are dealing with one comment at a time, but this is a way to get us all involved. So everyone had a chance to write something, and now we're going to go as a group dig a little deeper. So if you wrote this, you don't necessarily have to be the one who answers it, but I'll ask the group, what do you see in the work of art that makes you see women's empowerment? What is it that you see specifically in the work of art that makes you think women's empowerment? And that you can write in the chat box of the Zoom room. All right, someone says pose, body language, standing tall. So that body language is a huge thing. Unbroken gaze, facial expressions, they look confident, heads up. Bold colors, their expressions, the way they're facing each other, the way they're dressed. So much of this is about their body language and how they hold themselves, the way that they dress themselves, the way that they're looking at each other, the way that they're interacting with each other. And generally that sense of how they're connected is really about this confidence and this feeling. The shoes, I love it. All right, so let's look at this. Another one that rose to the top was broken emotions. So what do you see in the work of art that might say broken emotions? So it literally looks like broken glass. It looks like a fractured image. It's segmented, it's shattered. The fractional background, it looks like a mosaic. There's sharp geometric pieces. The shattered image, bright colors, jagged edges. Great. So there's actually a physical thing to the composition there. It looks like it's been shattered. The background looks broken up. And so we might ask students, what else do you see going on in the picture that makes those two things kind of, if this empowerment, how much you connect those two ideas? Broken feelings, hard times. Could be broken friendships. Could be strength coming out of brokenness. Women rising up despite the view of society on Black women. Women's empowerment shattered. Women are intact even though the background is broken. Shattering stereotypes. Glass ceiling is broken. Break the glass to get through empowerment. We look put together, but the world is shattering. These are all great. Long-term process of healing, not there yet. So that is a very brief, very condensed version of visual thinking strategies. Now, what I want us to do is move into a concept connection. So thinking about the concept of power. A lot of what we do at the museum focuses on exploring works of art and ourselves and texts in the world through a concept to kind of broaden our look at it and ways to connect it to other subject areas. So within the context of this work of art and some of the ideas that we've just come up with, what we're looking at, what we're thinking about, what do you see in this work of art that is powerful? And we may have already said a lot of these already. The women, the stance, the colors, the bright colors. Purple is power. Friendship is powerful. The three graces reference, borrowing from Greek classical mythology. The composition's powerful, their faces, the confidence, those shoes, the strong posture. Women are whole despite being shattered. The difference in tones, body language, collaborating work together, the graces, the women as the focal point. Black women are powerful. Expressions, high heels as power rather than sexual. Great feedback. I'm responding to someone else's. Their stylized presentation, sophistication in class. Great. This is great. So thinking about, so what we would do there then, so this would be a longer conversation with students. You'd think about what does that term power mean? When do you feel powerful? When do you feel powerless? So we might ask students those questions, have them do small groups about that, and then create a work of art around one of those experiences. Now you might choose just to stay super positive about this and say, when's an experience that you felt powerful? What's something that you did? How did you feel? How did you look? Where were you? Create a work of art that shows us that. Finding things to love about ourselves is a really powerful experience, and then to be able to share that within the class is a really powerful experience. So we wanted to do that combination just so that we could briefly show how VTS might be able to be used online. Let's go to the next slide. And just, you'll have this with you, 3 open-ended questions for VTS. What's going on in this picture? What do you see that makes you say that? What more can we find? I, as the teacher, am not giving a lot of information. I'm just repeating back what you say, and then I'm asking you, well, what do you see in the work of art that makes you say that? And that way that we're using the work of art as a text to hold up our ideas, to back up our opinions. So this is such a great strategy to hear a bunch of different perspectives, for students to discuss multiple interpretations in a really meaningful way. So you're modeling how you speak and listen with each other as well when you're doing VTS. That link at the bottom is hyperlinked, so you can find out more about VTS when you go there. And then again, NCMA Learn has ways that you can filter works of art and lessons through concepts. So if you're looking at environment or place or problem solving, you can go to our website and look at works of art that are connected to specific concepts. Great, that was fun, fast and fun, and empowering. All right, let's go to the next one. So now we're going to think about social awareness, which includes such teachable skills as perspective taking, empathy, appreciating diversity, and respect for others. So we're really thinking about who is ourselves in relationship to others, right? So before we were just exploring who we are, now we really want to think about how we impact others and how others impact us. And what are the different intricacies of that. So we'll do one strategy that connects to social awareness. Let's go to the next slide. We're going to be using this work by Lala Asadi called Silence of Thought number 2. I forgot to put that in the slide. And we're going to use the routine See, Think, Wonder, and Perspective Shift. We're going to use Padlet as a tool for this one, and then just the chat box at the end. So we're going to be thinking about multiple perspectives, appreciate diversity, and building empathy. If anyone took the global course that we ran, this will seem very familiar to you. So let's go ahead and we'll just do a 10-second look this time. So go to the, oh wait, do I have an image on the next one? No, okay. So we're gonna go to the Padlet. Michelle just put the link in there. You can click on the work of art to make it bigger if you'd like. And I want you to list what you see specifically in the work of art. What does it make you think about? And what questions do you have about it? What does it make you wonder? So first, spend time just observing. What are all the things you see? You don't have to list them all. Maybe list 2. What's it make you think about? What's it make you wonder? Jill, I'm going to focus on the Padlet. If you want to look at the chat and add anything that might be interesting. Okay. I'm going to start reviewing some of the answers. So what people see that's coming to the top is a woman is the emphasis of the piece. I think that's important to note, that it's a single woman, lots of pattern. One person says the woman is resting. Someone thinks she's sad or tired, pain or sorrow. Beliefs of sadness. They see writing on the woman's body. Someone's looking at the interior, elaborate double doors, the colors red, greens, yellows. Someone says she might be pregnant. Texture on the walls and the bed, patterns on the walls and bed, taking a nap, lying down. So lots of things about pattern, about what is the woman doing, the compositional movement of the piece, bold colors, great. What is it making you think about? This person says it's making them think about women in other cultures who have a lot to struggle with. Silence. What does silence mean? Taking a nap, reading a book until they fell asleep. Silence could be lots of things. Many lonely nights, Eastern culture rest, relaxation, being tired, being helpless. What room in the home? I'll move that into wonder. Makes me think she has a difficult life, possibly. Where is the, oh, those are going, thinking about time of day, thinking about what the colors might symbolize. Does it have to do with childbirth? Thinking about sleeping, thinking about space, making questions are, what are the significance of the doors? Why is she alone? Where is she? Where is she from? What is her culture and identity, and what are her ideas around that? Wonder what her situation might be. She looks like she might be lost, like she's lost some blood. Wonder why she's resting. Where is the room? What is her story? So lots of questions about her stomach and why her hand is placed there. What has she been through? Great. Anything you want to add that's different, Jill, that's from the chat?
I think you covered a good amount of, there were some similar things, some questions about what's behind the doors, but yeah.
Great. So we did that really fast. We would do that longer with students. You could have them write it. You could spend time with each column. And what do you see? Spend time with that. What's it make you think about? Spend time with that. Then I'm going to give you a little bit of information now that's going to give us a perspective shift. So I'm going to give you some context about the work of art. And now we're going to see how your perspective shifts. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. This is a quote from Lala Seydi. She says, "In my art, I wish to present myself through multiple lenses, as artist, as Moroccan, as traditionalist, as liberal, as Muslim. In short, I invite viewers to resist stereotypes." So some of the key ideas in the work is this idea of being other. She was born in Morocco, grew up in Saudi Arabia, and then moved to the United States, which has played a huge part into the work that she does. And she feels that only once she was able to move to the United States could she do work with strong feminist themes, which is talked about below. And this is really a sacred space for her, is what she calls this space. She's created this space for her alone to exist in. Calligraphy is something that there's a purpose and a power to it. It's something that's primarily done just by men where she's from. And so for her to write on her own body is a very bold act. And she's also challenging the concepts of Orientalism, which is an approach, a genre of art that really exoticized women and Asian cultures. So if you look up Orientalism, she'll see that her pose and the heavy patterning really, or they call it, because it's the Orient. We'll see a lot of ways that she's transferred this composition. So knowing those things, I'm not going to ask you these questions, but you can really think about how that you know now more about her and about the work of art. How has your perspective shifted? And we think that's an important strategy to do with students about when you put context with a work of art, so that they understand that the story that they know about people and about places and about things and about their experience has layers, and that you need to provide perspectives to get them to consider all of the different ways that you can understand a person, a place, or their own experiences. So that's another strategy for us. Let's go ahead and move forward. Slide. There is your slide about See, Think, Wonder, how you can manage that. Great. So then just briefly thinking about how the three strategies we just did would also build relationship skills, which are the teachable skills of communication, relationship building, teamwork, and cooperation and managing conflict. All of these strategies are about discussion and about having conversations, which is a great thing to model with students. Again, it's something you build to, because every classroom has a different dynamic, and so you have to find a way to make sure that everyone has a voice. So some of those skill sets that we see within, go ahead, the next slide, is that when we're talking about works of art openly, having this big classroom discussion or an online discussion, you're building empathy, you're allowing for shared perspectives, you're developing skills in speaking and listening, and looking at, discussing, and making art give students new ways to process and tease out meaning and to share their lived experiences, which is a really, we all as art teachers already know that that happens. So as many opportunities that students get for that is great. So let's go. We're gonna do some final thoughts. We've provided you 3 unique strategies that you might be able to use and 3 few possible tech tools you might be able to integrate. But we also want to talk about just choosing works of art. We specifically chose the works of art for this group, for this webinar, for goals that we had in mind of showing you a broad range of the collection, but also connecting it to really key skills that we wanted to connect with the CASEL framework. So you want to be thinking about, when you choose a work of art, is it developmentally aligned for your student group? That could be age, but it could also be their experience with talking about art and their experience with art. So as you get to know your students, you're gonna get to know what they really like. Do they like to dig deep, or do you need to get them there? Maybe you need to build to that. So really thinking about how you want to choose works of art that meet your students where they are. You want to choose works of art that include diversity and representation. Your classroom is diverse. Make sure that you are presenting them with the stories of artists and the world that represent the world, and that you are sharing it in multiple ways. So sharing the artwork is great, but hearing the artist's words is also great. Hearing the history of that time period that it was made is really great. So being very aware of the context in which you're sharing a work of art. Choose works of art that explore artists' process, stories, and identity. You never know when you're going to hook a student as to the type of material or the way an artist makes things, the type of stories they like to tell, or who the artist is as a person. That could be life-changing for a student and their ability to express themselves. So if you are thinking about, I want to provide multimedia, a bunch of different ways, make sure you're showing process, make sure you're showing multiple stories, make sure you're showing identity. And I think that's the end of mine. Thank you all for that ride.
Yes. So I know we just have a few minutes left, so we wanted to quickly give you an opportunity to share what's an idea from today you are excited about. And so you can, if you want to take just a moment in the chat to reflect. Right. So dot storming, BTS, and let's see. So people are excited about the tools, easy ways to discuss emotions, having really the kids taking an active role in critique, the formats, the works of art we used, perspective shifts, engages students to become more aware, fluid connection aligning with standards. Okay, and that these aren't just tools that would work in Zoom, but you can use them in other online platforms as well. Thank you so much. All right, so we want to also give you a little something to dig deeper into today. So we've gone through some of the strategies that we've had available on our NCMA Learn website, and made a page that looks at the 5 core competencies of the CASEL framework, and have pulled in some of the strategies we already had on the site, and kind of aligned where they fit within the framework. And I can pull that up real quick. That is, and this is something that will be kind of a living document for us. As we get deeper into this work, we can add to it, but we have put a gallery of works of art at the bottom that we think could be helpful to think about with students. So we wanted to introduce that to you today. And I think, Michelle, if you can put that link in. And then, oops, I just keep on clicking. The last thing that we want to share today is our Google Form exit ticket, and this is how you're going to qualify for your certificate of completion today. And this is a little bit complicated, but we had so many people sign up for the webinar that we didn't want to hit our email limit with the tool that automatically sends out the certificates. So we have 3 separate links, and we should be safe with these. So if your last name starts with A to M, you have a, or A to H. I'm sorry about that. I made this the 3rd sheet right at the end today. As long as you use one of these 3 links, you should be fine. But they're all the same exit ticket, but we just didn't want to hit our 100 email limit in any of them. So Michelle will put those in the chat, and you will be able to share with us just what you took away from today and get your certificate. And then let's see, and I'm sure those will be coming in just a minute. And then also, great, thank you, Michelle. If you have any questions after today, my email and Kristen's email are in this slide, as well as the link to sign up for our e-newsletter. And we want to thank you all for participating today, and we'll stick around for a few minutes in case there are any more questions in the chat. So
Thanks, everyone.